all know, I have interviewed hundreds of guests during my time here as the host of the Power Transformation podcast. But it is always special when I get to interview people that I can sincerely call friend. And that is the guest that I have today, none other than Heather F. Daly. I affectionately call her Heather. But Heather, welcome to the Power Transformation podcast.
Thank you, Alethea, my friend. Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
you are so welcome. And this is going to be a joy. And since we are friends, and I don't take that word lightly, I always ask all of my guests a random icebreaker question. And I was thinking, I know an awful lot about Heather. So what could I ask that would be an icebreaker question? Just a random question. And so this is going to be your icebreaker question, just to get us started so we get to know a little bit more about you as a person, Heather. So my question for you is, Heather, roller coasters or absolutely not?
That's funny. Okay, so I, when I was a kid, around maybe, I'm guessing 10 years old, I lived near an amusement park, a smaller amusement park. And for my birthday, we went to Canopy Lake Park. And my friends were too scared to ride the roller coaster. So I said, no problem, I'll do it. And then they finally got the courage. On round two, I went a second time and they loved it. And third time I went and then I puked in the garbage can. So I am not afraid of them, but I have a limit. They're terrifying. I scream. So I can do one or two, but I don't go out of my way to do it. No.
You
I've been traumatized.
So what's funny is my sister took me to an amusement park for my, excuse me, maybe it was my 37th or 38th birthday. And I say that only because that was my last time ever going. We rode the roller coasters, had a great time, but afterwards, she and I both said, I'm good if I never go on another roller coaster in my life.
Yes.
We had
Yeah.
been going on them ever since we were kids, and the thrill was kind of gone from it. Like, okay, but that's really, really interesting. And so, in that case, there was a bit of thrill seeking, even though, at this point you can take them or leave them. And I know a bit more about you where you have definitely taken some thrills and some challenges and have had some highs and some lows just as a roller coaster in your life. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask this question and answer it in any way that you choose. Who is Heather Daly?
Mhm. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. Who
Mm.
am I? Well, I will say that before we got on the call, I was listening to one of my friend and clients' story about an experience he had with his wife and son in his living room that was very emotional. And it turned into being a kind of a big release of family trauma. And I listened to this story and I'm helping him craft it and prepare it for business training. So I get to listen to really intimate stories for people. And same story I listened to last night when you texted me at 11:30 p.m. and I'm like, why aren't you in bed? And then after that, I practiced singing all the words to Salt and Pepper Shoop, which I did not do successfully because my sister-in-law and I are going to memorize the lyrics to that and put on a dance for her niece who's 10 so we can embarrass her because she thinks that we're cringe, and now my goal is to be as cringy as possible. So I'm blessed to be able to help people take their stories in their life and turn it into a currency, whether for personal or business use. I love hanging out with my family and friends. And I'm really a people person. I'd say that's a big
Hmm.
part of who I am, as you know. We love just hanging out and chatting and exploring
Hmm.
life and asking
Yeah.
curious questions.
Indeed. And you also have fur babies on top of
Yes,
that.
I
See, yes,
do.
see?
Oh, well, you have
Yes.
Buddy. I have Sev the cat. You have Buddy the cat. And then
Mm.
Liam is kind of is my 80-pound pity mix who is afraid of the cat. So he's a ball of love. And I spend a lot of time with him because I work from home mostly.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
take him for walks every day. So yeah, I
Mm.
am a mother at heart. I don't have any human kids, but I have
Mhm.
fur ones, and I my parents probably think that I'm trying to parent them as they get older.
Aren't we?
Don't
Yes.
call me. I don't need to call you when I get home. I'm like, it's dark out. You can't walk in the dark. Call me when you get home. So I definitely
Mhm.
have a parenting quality about me.
Exactly. And I think it's important. I always tell my parents, I said, you all have gone rogue in
Oh,
your older
yes.
years.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
goodness. They're just so
Yes.
different. I said, you've thrown everything you've taught me out of the window and don't apply it to yourself. And they
So
just don't
funny.
care. So it's just
Why are you
hilarious.
standing on a ladder in front of me reaching for a plate? Can you just ask me for help? Why are you trying to die in front of me? What are we doing here?
Exactly.
Can we slow it down a bit, you know?
I
Ooh.
know it makes no sense whatsoever, but you touched on something in that description where I want to lead into next. And when you were talking about helping people share their stories, and so briefly at this chapter in your life, tell us what you do. I'm going to use the word professionally, but I'm getting to the whole point of this realm that you're in. You are a seasoned entrepreneur, but in terms of this area that is so concentrated and focused on in your life right now, tell us what it is you do and how you serve people in that area.
Yeah. I help people find, craft, and share stories in a variety of ways. So I really have one of the best jobs on the planet because I listen to people's stories. And like you, I'm also a coach with a
Mhm.
background in, life coaching, breath coaching. I'm an NLP certified master coach. So I get to listen to people and help them take these stories, whether they're inside their head, how they perceive themselves in their life and their past experiences, or these moments that they have day to day or in the past, and understand it and craft it in a way that it has meaning to them that is purposeful. So how that looks in the real world is I'm working with a client right now who just texted me before we got on this call that she has been accepted to speak on a panel at a conference because she's starting to add storytelling into her business, which she's in the insurtech business, which is really,
Mhm.
dare I say, boring. It's very professional and there's a
Yeah.
lot of rules, and she's trying to step out of her comfort zone and add in a personal touch. I have another client who is was a professional basketball player, an Olympian, and now he works in a financial industry where it's really strict. And he just
Mhm.
helped him with an acceptance speech. He works with
Mhm.
kids and does all this nonprofit work. So he gets to share a personal story in these acceptance speeches. So for a lot of people, storytelling is second nature. Like to me, food, music, storytelling, it's human, right? It's
Mhm.
a one of the most natural forms of communication, but it's also scary to be vulnerable. It's easy to share a funny story, but to share these moments, that's what your podcast is all about, right? Getting people
Mhm.
to share these moments that are really relatable where they've had challenges. And that's hard for me too, to be honest. We've talked about it. I've gone through some moments in the last couple of years, and I am not comfortable or wired to tell you talk about struggles because I'm always
Mhm.
annoyingly optimistic, and I challenge myself to get on stage, tell these stories, share these things that are personal, but they're also relatable, and it creates this
Mhm.
connection with people that I think it helps us in business, but also we're in a time when AI is everywhere, which is great. We love AI for all sorts of reasons, but to help people keep that part of like turn up their human, and keep
Hmm.
that connection that will never go away. It's a
Yeah.
superpower, it's a currency. So I help people mine for those gems in their life, and it makes them better in business and communication. But my favorite part, and it happens, you have to experience, is the how you can see your life in a new way and yourself in a way. That personal
Hmm.
part is so
Hmm.
delicious.
It is. And I think that there's such power in storytelling and sharing your story. And so it's very curious because when you and I became friends, you weren't in this storytelling realm, but yet one thing that I knew about you is that you were always sharing a story. And
Yes,
I absolutely love that, is that you're a natural storyteller. I too love telling
you are
stories, right?
too.
And
Hmm.
so thank you. And so how did you evolve into this place? And before we get to the key, the core answer of that, take us back a bit, Heather, and tell us a bit about your upbringing and your childhood, and how did glimpses of the storyteller in you even show up back then?
I think about this a lot. My dad, I think, is the storyteller in the family. He's
Mhm.
also was my principal, as you know, which I
Uh-huh.
loved because I did calculus on Friday nights. I wasn't like my brothers out there drinking. So I was a boring, innocent kid, and I loved hanging out with my dad. But he grew up and he had some challenges as a kid. His younger brother was killed at a really young age, and
Mhm.
he was 3, and his mom saw
Oh.
it. He was really one of those changed everyone's life forever, right? And his dad died at a young age, so I don't know if that's why he shared stories, but he would always sit and tell stories about people that had passed. And he has this amazing memory for names, especially as my
Mm.
principal. He remembers everyone's name. So he spoke in stories. I didn't realize that at the time. I noticed that now more because that was just my dad, right? So now I look back and he's still sharing all these stories. So I think being around him, he has a great sense of humor. And that was probably my first introduction to it. And I also grew up in a family that sarcasm was a love language growing up in New England. So we always joked around and picked on each other for better or worse. I always say that my brother showed love by avoiding eye contact and chasing me around the house with a staple gun.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Not the
goodness.
teacher kind, the construction kind. So we
Uh-huh.
were always, joking around with each other and having fun, sharing stories. And plus, dare I say, we didn't have the internet for better or worse, so we just sat around and talked a lot.
Hmm.
And then the part I that definitely helped to develop it was owning the restaurant
Yeah.
because it was I imagine being in a dining room full of, 60 or maybe people on the deck, 100 hangry people who are caffeine addicts and are waiting for food and they're hangry. And I was the entertainment. I would go around and keep the room happy and alive. And it's if you've ever, you've worked in the service industry and you've been around
Hmm.
food, it is so much fun. But there's so many food is a story in itself, of course. And then working in a community environment with food, with stories, with people, and I would see the same people over and over. And I didn't remember their name, but I not always, but I remember what they ate. I remember their story of their
Hmm.
children. So I was always performing, entertaining,
Hmm.
sharing stories. And then I spent years as a professional organizer,
Hmm.
and stuff is just stuff unless it has a story. I had a client who I was helping out clean out a barn. We had a monstrous dumpster, and I
Wow.
tried to throw away this rusty shovel, just the bottom of the shovel. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm throwing away this rusty shovel." And she said, "No, you're not." I said, "Why not?" Well, because when, maybe 50 years ago, I babysat a little girl
Oh.
for my friends who had an event and they didn't have a babysitter. And my husband and I didn't have a family yet, and we were thinking about it. And we babysat this little girl. She was so sweet and precious. And after that, we decided we wanted to start a family. And as a gift, the parents gave us a painted shovel for the
Wow.
garden. And we kept it in the yard for 50 years, and now it's rusted. And she said, and that little girl was you. And that was your
Oh.
parents. I know. And I said, give me that rusty shovel. I want that shovel. So
Oh
it
my
was my
gosh.
parents. I knew this woman, obviously. And so that shovel's nothing without a story. So having worked with so many people in their homes, all they just want to share their stories of their
Hmm.
stuff, of their life. A lot of older adults moving
Wow.
into assisted living, and they have 50 years of memories in a home. So
Hmm.
I was surrounded by it in a lot of ways. And then, of course, coaching, you're listening to people's stories all the time. So that kind of
Exactly.
built me into this unknowingly at the time. It was
Wow.
everywhere.
And you are so correct. And what I will share with the audience is that, Heather, yes, is my friend, but also she is my storytelling coach. She's helping me craft my story even more for when I speak on stages, virtually, in person, and even for my social media content. I put a little pause on doing my videos, but I'm starting it back up really, really soon, as well as my YouTube channel. But the thing is that storytelling can also help us process
Mm.
the highs and the challenges and the stretches and the strengths in our lives as well, Heather. And you have so many amazing stories about your life, but you have a gifting to be able to help people to connect a story. For example, me as an entrepreneur and my audience being entrepreneurs and people in leadership, you have a way that can help people craft a story, a snippet of a story, and yet connect it with anything in life. And so, give us an example of how a story of anything personal in your life that you're comfortable sharing, how has it shaped you even in this moment as you're coaching other people as well as refining your craft as a storyteller?
Yeah. Oh, so many.
Yeah.
Uh, I recently told a story on stage about my neighbor's cat stuck up in a tree. Waffles was stuck up in
Mhm.
a tree, and I had walked by him for days and I didn't even know it. He'd been stuck up there for a week,
Hmm.
which was, as a cat owner, I'm like, cut the tree down. How is that possible?
That's right.
Call the National Guard, call Oprah. Oprah will
Uh-huh.
figure it out. She figures everything out, right? And so I was at the time not wanting to do anything of, I wanted to be home. I wanted to be on my couch. I didn't want to be around anybody. But I saw this cat, and of course, you're an animal lover. I'm an animal lover. I'm
Mhm.
like, I got to figure this out. And my neighbor, um, one of my neighbors saw me. He came to help, and I made a quick phone call. And one of my neighbors said that the owners had called the fire department. They'd called the local animal rescue. No one knew how to help. So I said, okay,
Oh.
well, I'm going to call Ron. Ron showed up in his truck, and my neighbor Rick came over, and Ron not only is a cat dad, and he has a bucket truck. He's a tree guy, so he has a bucket truck. So we worked together, and he got in his bucket truck, and we got waffles out of the tree.
Wow.
We basically scared the hell out of waffles, and took off. And but either way, it worked. And for me, everybody went home, and what they didn't realize is I wanted to get back to my couch that day because I had just started my radiation treatment that week. And
Mm.
my husband was no longer my husband. He moved out 2 months ago, and I wanted to stay on my couch and hide from the world, kind of like waffles. I felt stuck,
Yeah.
like I was up in
Wow.
this tree. And that moment helped me realize a couple things. One is community, because I know those people, we don't vote the same. We have differences, right? For sure.
Hmm.
But we're all cat parents. We're all kind
Hmm.
people. We came together. So I know the power in community and
Hmm.
seeing working together on common things instead of differences. And also it helped me realize that help can show up in unexpected ways, you know, even when things feel impossible. And I
Hmm.
struggle to ask for help. I'm the
Hmm.
caregiver, I'm the coach like yourself. I suck at asking for help. So it
Hmm.
was just like waffles. Waffles didn't know how to ask for help, right? So it was a profound moment for me. At the time, I couldn't put as many words to it
Hmm.
because of all that I was going through, but the reflecting on it through storytelling helped me understand it, have a new perspective. And it's also can be a business story about community, about asking for help, about, there's all sorts of
Yeah.
ways that that can turn into something. And that's a little bit of a bigger story, but you and I have had conversations about you
Hmm.
helping your dad at the doctor's,
Hmm.
and those are great little vignettes of stories that are very relatable because there's patterns in everything. And
Yes.
business is just humans doing stuff. It's not
Hmm.
that complicated. So when you can kind of see through the lens, when you develop your storytelling lens and you understand your business and the patterns that you're doing, you're working with people and stuff, they're adjacency everywhere. They're relatable. And
Hmm.
it's one of my favorite things to do. And it's a skill that people can learn.
It is. So, what was the epiphany, Heather, that you had one of these days to say, I want to help people share their stories? And what steps did you take to even get to where you are now?
Yeah. I would say, okay, like you, I am an intuitive person. I trust over these years, not always when I was younger, but I trust my gut. I have a
Hmm.
wonderful connection with my intuition, or you could say God or spirit. I love to listen for feelings, I just love
Hmm.
that. And I also know when it's not when I know that because of all the mistakes I've made.
Hmm.
Listening, wait, that didn't go so well. So what happened was, ooh, in my class with you, or how we met, is there was a book, uh, Storyworthy from Matthew Dix, and
Hmm.
I read the book and I had no idea, not that I didn't know about storytelling, but I'm like, what is this thing? This is amazing. So Matthew Dix is an award-winning storyteller, international best-selling author, DJ, fifth grade teacher. He does all these things. So I found out that he lives 2.5 hours from me, and I went and met him at a book launch, and I didn't have the words for it, but I had the feeling
Hmm.
for it. I wanted to know more. And at the time I was transitioning from I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and
Hmm.
I knew I wanted to help people and work with people, and I just signed up for his masterclass, and that's
Hmm.
the rest is history. So I was introduced to storytelling. I had a feeling about it. I had no idea how to craft a story. It was very confusing. But then I just did it, kept doing it, doing it. And now I actually work. Matt is my friend, and I teach and coach and mentor in his community, run workshops,
Wow.
which is amazing. He
Yeah.
is spectacular. And I love, love, love doing it. So what I did was I followed something, some passion, some interest, and I definitely didn't know it would evolve this way, but it feels like home. It feels like
Oh,
a place where a lot of things I've done over my life have been able to come together. I've
yeah.
spent a lot of time in space, right, moving stuff around. As a restaurant owner, I can give you this chocolate chip cookie, right, and you
Hmm.
taste it and you come to me, and I, as an organizer, I go and make your house look beautiful, or I help you move. And this is a different experience for me because it's like in conversations and ideas
Yeah.
and thoughts. So that's a new experience for me. But I love people. I love stories. I love sharing stories with people. So it just feels like home to me. And I also am competitive. Let's be
Ah,
honest. I have a
yeah.
background. I grew up playing sports. I played sports in college, and there's something I need to, not that art and storytelling should be competitive, but I go to a lot of moth story slams, and it provides me the opportunity to improve on something. I
Hmm.
love learning and I love getting better at something. So
Hmm.
it satisfies that itch too.
It definitely does. And the amount of storytelling competitions, so to speak, that you have been in is really astounding. And I like the fact how you've had all of these pivots in your life when it comes to things that you've done professionally as an entrepreneur. But it goes to show because you mentioned earlier about the neighbor who said 50 years ago she got the shovel. And
Yes.
so, with you being 50, the question that comes to mind is that sometimes people will use an excuse that they're not as young as they used to be, or that they're too old to do something, or why am I going to start over? And I think that it begs the question about that is a version of a story that they're telling themselves
Mhm.
and a story that needs to be changed and shifted. And so, Heather, in what ways over the years have you, even with your own life, have had to shift and change and strengthen the stories that you told yourself in terms of your inner and your outer storytelling?
Mm, that's a simple question. Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Think
Well,
about that.
I believe that what do I want to say? I want to say that I think we come in as kids beautifully open-minded and ready, and then
Mm.
life
Life,
life
yeah.
smushes us in all
It's
sorts
a
of
yes.
ways, and it like, creates these
Hmm.
challenges for us and creates these stories in our head, which is totally normal.
Yeah.
We all go through it. We all have different experiences, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, if you're lucky, you realize that you're in charge of the ship and no
Yeah.
one's going to show up and do your plantar fasciitis exercises for you, even though
Uh-huh.
you're like, I'll pay you $50 if you fix
Yeah.
my foot with a pill. So and then, uh, so I know you can relate to this because when you have health challenges or different challenges in life, it adds these filters
Hmm.
where, I don't want to swear on the podcast, but it's like you don't
It's
give a,
okay.
oh,
It's
you don't give a fuck. When you get
hmm.
to a certain age, or for me, having gone recently through, um, at the same time, cancer, divorce, and turning 50, kind of all at the same time, it's the silver lining is you start to appreciate the things that you do have and the things that you're in
Yeah.
control of, and the simple things light you up. So I've always been interested in my inner world. And here's
Mm.
something. Here's something. You
Yes.
know this about me. So when I was in my 20s, this is a little um not super relatable, but when I was in my 20s, I disappeared. I changed my name for legally and disappeared from my family for almost 20 years. There's a lot in that. And by the
A
way,
lot.
there's a lot in there.
I
And
just slide that
just
part
slide
in.
right in there.
Yeah.
But the what it relates, because I was trying to change the outside stuff so I could feel better on the inside. If I change my name, if I change my location, if I change this on the
Mm.
outside, and that is a normal experience growing up, not changing your name, but wanting to change your outside world.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't until I came to terms with, okay, no one's going to do this for you. You got to change your inside
Mhm.
world, and then things start changing. So I went through the restaurant, which was an amazing experience, but I also didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to speak up for myself, and I didn't know how to quit. I pushed myself. If you heard the stories of the hours we talked about before we started, is
Mhm.
I'd fall asleep standing up all the time. It was insane. Uh, I didn't know how to advocate for myself.
Mhm.
I was not healthy, but I also didn't know how to quit. I didn't know how to um, the perspective was just like, I got to do this. I committed. If I die, that's okay. At least they'll have pizza,
Wow.
and baked goods and da da da. Because someone came up to me one day and they said, several times, said, "You're the hardest working person I ever met." And I used to be like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." And one day I was like, "That's the stupidest thing. I want to be the
Hmm.
smartest working." So, but
Yeah.
you go through that as you change over, life experiences, you wise up. And I'm in this place at 50 that I love where I don't want to change lives with anybody. I
Mm.
actually love my life. I love me, my body,
Yeah.
my life, my experience. And you know why? I don't want to change what I know, the knowledge.
Mm.
I'm like, nope, I earned it. Back the F off. This
That's
is mine.
right. And all of those experiences that we have in our life lead up to the core of the person that we are today. And
Yeah.
so, even with those experiences and your story, and I'm glad that you even slid in that part about it, is that is a made for TV movie in and of
Yeah.
itself, being gone for 20 years and then, hey, I'm back,
Hey, what's
but but no, seriously, is that, you know, it teeters on the fact how many people are looking for themselves in a lot of that, or
yes, of
acceptance
course.
and
Yes.
identity, and that there's power in the connection between storytelling and your identity. And so,
Yeah.
in what ways, Heather, do you see your identity evolving even more as you get deeper into
Yeah.
storytelling and storytelling coaching?
That's a great question. I was just talking to my coach this morning. I had a session and we were talking about the podcast and speaking with you. And I told him how I'm usually the one asking questions and I'm the
Hmm.
coach and I'm the interviewer and I get anxious. That's not I'm not used to being the one who shares my story,
Yeah.
especially the vulnerable parts, because I am annoyingly optimistic and I used to see that as a weakness, right? I love hearing other people's stories and I am challenging myself. This is me being more vulnerable,
Hmm.
wanting to share my story because I know it's relatable. When I do it, people come up to me when I talk about these things. That's the power of storytelling. Is
Yeah.
you don't have. Oh, this is why I love places like the Author Stories in general. You do not have to. You can't be anyone but yourself. No one else can
Oh,
have your story.
that's
No one
right.
else can have your voice, and you don't have to. It's not a performance. You can always improve it. You can improve presentation, all that, but no one else had chicken cutlets with my parents last Saturday night, and it turned. My mom's famous for her chicken cutlets, and it
Mhm.
turned into like the three of us just sitting around and I'm trying to capture these moments with my parents because they're in their mid 80s. And so I
Mhm.
ask them stories about their first date and I talk to text on my notes app and they'll try to I say, hold on, don't talk. So it's recording,
Mm.
it's like a sitcom because I'm trying to capture these moments. And then, my dad I'm talking to my dad about my mom wanted help getting mulch out of the truck for the garden. And
Those big bags of
they're
mulch.
not they're not that big, right? And I said, Mom,
Oh, okay. So the
I'll do
small
it.
ones.
For me, they're not that big. I said, okay,
Okay.
Mom, I'll get the mulch out of the truck. No problem. You go get it with Dad. Just you can't lift that. I don't want. I'm like, Mom, I can
Yeah.
lift it. It's not. I don't want you to lift it. I said, well, we'll just put it on the tree. And my dad's like, why are we're cutting down a tree? No, no, we're not cutting down a tree. We're putting on a tree. Why are we cutting down a tree? You shouldn't lift up the bags of mulch. So back
Oh
and forth.
no.
Why are we? So it is so much fun for me because then we all hold hands. I say, okay, let's make eye contact. This is what I do with them now.
Mm.
You
Mm.
guys are getting way too old. This is not complicated. And we
Wow.
laugh. It's a joke. We have so much fun. So
Of course, yeah.
that's an experience that nobody else can have. And I can turn that into a business story. I can keep it for myself. Um, yeah. So,
Mm. Heather, how has your life enhanced now with you being so intentional about storytelling?
ooh, okay. One of my favorite parts is these moments that I've had
Mhm.
I was sitting again at the table with my parents, and I played for my dad and my mom my story about it's called birthday cards, but I told a story about when I had been away, right? And I struggled to take this big event in my life and put words to. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to approach it.
Hmm.
I was I didn't know how to share it with my parents. So I had found this way, this story. And I played it for my dad, and we're all sitting there and we're all getting emotional. And my dad, who is 85 and has a flip phone that he lost on his desk literally for 2 years. Like
Oh no, what?
he's not technical. He said, "Can you email me that video? I would love
Oh my
to
God.
watch it again. I've never heard you explain it in that way, and that really meant a lot to me." So
Wow.
it's moments like that where I have we have these experiences that we can wrap up and put some meaning to and share with other people. I mentioned my story about waffles.
Hmm.
It gives a voice and an understanding to something that I have a hard time sharing or explaining. So it's
Yeah.
enhanced for that. It personally has been a game changer. I've
Wow.
really enjoy it, and it feels
Hmm.
therapeutic.
It definitely can be. And I think that, what I have noticed now more and more in 2026 is that not just people in our country, but overall in the entire world, they want people who are authentic,
Yeah,
who are vulnerable, so that they can be more relatable. They're not caring about the people who are putting on airs or
yeah,
acting as if they are better. They need down to earth people, even if you're massively wealthy or not. They just need people who are going to be willing to share because we all share the human experience,
yeah.
regardless of race, color, religion, socioeconomic status. That is the one common thread that we all have, is that of being human, and all of us
Mhm.
having a story to share if we would be willing enough to take heed, embrace it, and go after it. And if a person wants to learn, Heather, as we start coming to a close here, about I'm ready to share my story, I'm ready to get even more support in that area, or learn about resources in general, how can a person connect with you?
Mm. I just want to say too, you're such a good communicator and such a natural storyteller. And I could listen to you
Oh.
read the dictionary. I love your voice. And
Hey,
luckily,
it's for art park.
I, B is for Batman. I love it. I love it. So people can get in touch with me through my website,
Mm.
storieswithheather.com, and they could email me at hello@storieswithheather.com. And storytelling, I in Matt's community, there's a lot of professional people. There's a
Hmm.
lot of people with all these credentials, and a lot of them are afraid to tell stories. It is
I
very
believe it.
normal to,
Hmm.
and they're great storytellers, and they have
Yeah.
so, I listen to stories and there's like my father was in jail in Colombia, and I was in, I'm like, what's going on here? There's amazing
Wow.
people from all over the planet. And one of my favorite things to do is create a space for people, help create a space where they
Hmm.
can start sharing stories and
Yeah.
start finding them and crafting them. What I offer to people personally to work with me, a couple things are I like to help people create a story bank. That's what one of the things we're working on with you, where
Hmm.
you learn how to find stories and craft them and share them, but you have
Hmm.
this for business owners. It's great because you have this little bank of stories that you can use on your
Hmm.
website. You can learn ways to infuse it when you introduce yourself, and social media, speaking engagements, all that. So you basically develop a lens of storytelling.
That's right. Hmm.
So I love working with people that way. And I also know I'm a natural networker, and I think everyone's my friend. So if we are not a fit, I have people like Alethea I can lead you to. I know Matt, if it's, I have a friend that I work with a lot, Karen, you met her, and she
Yeah.
has a lot of experience work with really large businesses. So sometimes we collaborate. So anything I can do to help people personally or send them in different directions, or they just want to ask more questions, they can email me. We can set up a time to chat.
Hmm. Indeed. Heather, what is the importance, in your perspective and your opinion, the importance and relevance of storytelling today?
Hmm. I we are at a we're in a unique time
Hmm.
where a lot of us are surrounded. You've heard people say this about, information overload. Information's easily accessible, and we have
Hmm.
all these tools that do so much stuff for us on the outside world, right? And storytelling, like I said before, music and food and storytelling, it connects you to yourself and to others in the most natural, organic, human, delicious way.
Mm.
It is this language that is always going to bring us closer together. It opens doors for people. It dissolves
Mhm.
differences. There's things are so much louder and they're thrown at us all the time, right? With how different we are and all this stuff. And storytelling, the more you can just sit across from someone and have a conversation and understand them through story, the more you
Mm.
realize that we're more alike than different. All of us more alike than different. So I think it,
Mm.
again, turns up the human, turns up the love. And it is one way to help us individually connect deeper with ourselves on the
Mm.
inside, and also with your neighbor, with your family, with your neighborhood, with your community, with people you aren't so crazy about, with the planet.
Yeah.
It brings more understanding and kindness into our own lives and into the world. So sign me up.
Yes,
Sign
indeed.
me up.
And for the closing question is thinking about so much in your life, everything that you've experienced, learned from, gleaned from, really have overcome, and certain things that you're still experiencing now, because we are human and we'll have our challenges and we'll have our victories. But what makes your story as Heather F. Daly, what makes you story worthy?
Mhm. What comes to mind when you ask that question? I would say I just get this feeling of celebrating being myself. I'm in this place in my
Mhm.
life right now where I've spent so much time out as a caregiver, people pleaser, looking to
Mm.
help other people, which I love doing. I love being of service, but I'm in this place where I've never felt so happy just being me, exploring myself
Mm.
and showing up as myself and being able to be present for people and listen to their stories and shine a light on them at how amazing they are just as they are with their stories, and how these moments in their life make them more whole, more powerful,
Mm.
easier to connect, these gems. So I would say my ability to collect these gems in my own life and share them
Mhm.
is my superpower right now, and helping other people do the same. And it is so satisfying. And storytelling has allowed me another layer to take these moments that have been very challenging
Mhm.
and turn them into connection points and strengths. And so I love that I feel blessed that I've been introduced to that, and I'm able to share that every day with people.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.